I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Well, that's an old one. Chris, do you know that song?
I do. Vinny, do you know what Queen makes me want to do every time I hear Queen?
You want to rock me?
No. I want to clean the house. Because growing up, the only time my mother ever played her Queen Greatest Hits album was when she was doing like a full top to bottom cleaning of the house.
Really?
So if I hear Queen at all, I smell Pledge and hear a vacuum somewhere and go, what can I clean?
Yeah. It's funny how, Marcel Proust talked a lot about this kind of thing, right? Smells, songs, sounds, anything can bring you back to a time, right? And it's funny you should bring that up because I can always tie everything back to feelings and emotions and food. Because, you walk into a house and you smell cinnamon. That will bring you back to, oh, my mom used to make cinnamon rolls every Saturday or Christmas time. Look, and don't think that companies don't know that this exists. Every year around Halloween time, every coffee shop turns into something called pumpkin spice, which to this day, I don't know what pumpkin spice is because I've had pumpkin and there's no spice to it. So pumpkin spice is what, like nutmeg and cinnamon and maybe
Cloves
2 or 3 other things.
Ginger.
Yeah, that makes up something to make pumpkin taste like anything except pumpkin.
Pumpkin. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, you go to Starbucks. You want a coffee? Yes, come in with pumpkin spice unless you ask. Right? Everywhere you go, there'll be that. And it's because it's the season, right? For me, Christmas and pecan pie are one and the same. It's one of the few times per year I have a dessert, a treat. It's a pecan pie, right? And when I think about it, this past Christmas, I don't think we had it. Serena made a pavlova instead, which is basically just a bunch of meringue whipped up, a bunch of, I guess you could say, protein with sugar in it, and you just put a bunch of fruit in the middle, right? Love a good pavlova, but usually for Christmas there's a pecan pie because that's when I'm going to have that one treat. But anything, I get on these consults and people will say when I travel, I go through airports and the smells, right? Like the food courts, get to them and they have to, it's like, I always tell people, eat before you get to the airport. And they're like, yeah, but you don't understand. I get there and the smells, and personally, I think some of these smells are horrible. I get on the plane, it smells like Taco Bell farted on the plane. It's like, what's going on? I don't want to smell your Taco Bell fart bag when you open it up. That it smells like a bad Mexican food fart. Chris?
You brought this up the other night on one of the VIP calls, and you say, yeah, maybe somebody will have a Taco Bell bag. And I had to mute myself and move away from the microphone because I was actually gagging. McDonald's, Burger King, anybody that uses a lot of fry oil, I understand the connection that people have to that smell. And I guess I've just been low carb and eating real food long enough that now all I smell is rancid oil.
Right.
And so you do lose that association.
Yeah.
But I haven't lost the like cinnamon, nutmeg, like that association yet. And I don't know why that is, but it's kind of interesting to me that, the things, and it's something a lot of people talk about. They're like, oh man, McDonald's
I got to
smells
tell you,
so good.
you're cutting out a bit. Like every time you move, your mic cuts out a little bit. I don't know what's going on over there.
How's that?
Yeah, try to hold
That any
still when
better?
you're talking.
Yeah.
Because all right, go on.
I don't know where I was at.
You're trying to
Yeah,
level up
I'm
smell.
trying to figure out why that smell, and maybe it's because it's not associated with something that's a happy memory necessarily. It's associated with the indigestion and the all of the crap that comes with eating at McDonald's, versus something like cinnamon, which for me, I don't think pecan pie, I think monkey bread, right? Because that's our big Christmas thing. And I know I'm going to feel like crap after I eat it, but it doesn't make me want to run to the bathroom like McDonald's does.
Right.
So maybe that's the difference.
Well, look, I have that, that carnival smell, like, that rancid oil smell, right? Some people go, oh my God, it smells like corn dogs. I must have one. Yeah, my brain goes past that to it smells like rancid oil, right? Or when they're doing the funnel cakes or any of that kind of stuff. There's another smell that is associated, people associate, like if they're doing something like cotton candy, that sugar, that confection smell. I can't tell you what it is. Sometimes if you pass, and I'm talking about you're going through the airport or you're in the mall or I haven't been in the mall now for 7 or 8 years, but you'll go through the food court at the mall where we lived in LA. As on the way out, you will go through the food court. That sugar smell that was coming off of the ice cream place or the this or the that. And it was just this thing. I'm like, God, it's almost, it makes me nauseous. But I know other people tell me they smell that and they want to have, and I'm a sugaraholic, right? But I want really good sugar. I don't want that bad sugar smell. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And there, again, like if you're going to do something, do it right. If you're going to put some life into living, make it worth your while. And you've been burned enough times to associate that smell with a bad experience afterwards. Yeah. Right. It's the same reason. And you were talking about smells and memories and how marketers use it. Isn't that the old real estate agent trick? Right. You put vanilla extract on a cookie sheet and throw it in the oven real low, so the whole house smells like vanilla and cookies.
Or they'll just bring the cookie dough and just, they'll bring their own pan, the cookie dough, just pop it on the pan, throw it in the oven, and have that smell going. And they'll make a pot of coffee. Both of those smells will make the house very homey, right? You feel like you're in the home. And yeah, that's all it takes, right? A smell can do it all. And they do it at Christmas time. If you're going through a shopping center or whatever, you can smell the cinnamon. I don't know how they, I guess they might have candles going or something. I'm not really sure what it is, but they do it.
Well, right? That's the thing that casinos are famous for, right? They have systems that put smells and scents into the air specifically to keep you in certain areas or to get you to move through certain areas faster.
Well, have we ever figured out, like, as you know, I hate casinos, I hate Vegas, but the times I've been to Vegas for conventions and this sort of thing, I've made note of a few things. Now, everyone tells me that they pump oxygen through the vents. I don't know if there's any truth in that, right? You ever hear that story? They pump extra oxygen through the vents so that people stay up longer and gamble. I don't know if that's true or not. But the one thing I could tell you that is true, I was walking into a casino once for a convention. I think Anna was with me. And I said, Anna, what do you notice? She goes, a lot of people. I went, what else do you notice? Tons of people. I said, notice they have a moving walkway heading into this joint. Literally one of those conveyor belts like you see in the airport. They had two of them side by side to haul your ass in there. But if you want to leave, you got to hoof it. They don't have one for the way out. Now, I don't know how many hotels have that, but the Bellagio or the wherever we were had that. And I know people are going to go, oh, yeah, they put that at all of them. But I wonder if people notice that. It's like, hey, they will deposit your ass in the seat, but they're not giving you any way to get the hell out of there, which I find very interesting.
Like grocery stores are famous for that same trick, right? except you don't have the people mover. They put the stuff they know that you're going to need towards the back of the store, so you have to walk past everything else on the
Right.
way in. And it's like, what's the running joke? They put the diapers next to the beer at the back of the store because they know that you're going to need to pick them both up at the same time. Casinos do not pump oxygen, but they do use their air conditioning systems and those kinds of things to condition the air in a different way.
Okay, so is somehow conditioned air, like we call air conditioning when we take it from hot to cold or from cold to hot. It's funny how we call it air conditioning when we're cooling it, but when we're heating it, we call it heating. Right?
That's right. You have to
air in both directions.
You have to whip it into shape. You got to get it conditioned to be how you like it. Speaking of air conditioning, I do not miss air conditioning at all.
You don't have it where you are.
No, I mean, it's 70 degrees every day or 75 degrees every day.
But you're 9,000 feet up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
but
right.
when I was home over Mother's Day, my parents had the AC on because it's May in Pennsylvania, and that goes either of two directions. It's either rainy and cold or muggy, right? And I walked into their house, I think 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and went, "Why is it so cold?" And I looked at the thermostat, and it's 73. It feels different, and it acts different than 73 degrees. Does that make sense?
No, it does. We keep the house in the hot months, 75-ish during the day. But at night, when you go upstairs, you can hang meat in that bedroom. Serena has it because she goes to bed a couple of hours before me. I get up there, and while I'm brushing my teeth, sometimes icicles form on my testicles. It's just what happens. It's cold. And, I'm always going, oh, why does it have to be so cold? I'm telling you, when it's cold, you get a much better night's sleep. In the wintertime, it could be 25 degrees outside. She's got the windows open. That's how cold it is in the upstairs, right? She opens the windows, and the colder you are, the better you sleep. It's just a fact.
You can always put more clothes on or another blanket, but you can only get so naked, right?
Right.
So if you're cold, there's something you can do about it. If you're hot,
not a whole lot. Yeah. So
Chris, being a poet.
Let me do a quick ad here. And I think we're talking about vitamins because we're going to do like a vitamins 101 because I don't think people really understand vitamins. So we decided we would do that today. Since we're talking about vitamins, folks, purevitaminclub.com. It's a little company that I started. And yes, I am now back at the helm. I had someone else running it for me for a long time. Things went a little off kilter. And by a little, I mean my company was almost ruined. I'm being honest here. I have nothing to lie about. We got it out of financial toil when everyone else told me to go bankrupt. And Chris was there with me. It's like, you just need to file for bankruptcy. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I took my own life savings for a second time to re-up. And because that's my commitment to this company, right? And turns out I made the right move because we are still selling the best vitamins on the planet. I will not buy second-rate ingredients to put in these vitamins. It's all the best stuff you can get. We source it from all around the country, all around the world, but they're all made right here in the good old US of A. They're all third-party tested. I make these vitamins for me, and you guys get the leftovers. That's the way it works, right? Pure vitamin. And when I say leftovers, I don't mean you can't make one bottle of vitamins for yourself. You got to make.
You mean the extra tens of thousands of bottles that are produced?
In order to make it worthwhile for me, I had to make tens of thousands of bottles, and you guys get to purchase that. That's why it's the best vitamin company in the world. I don't make them for you. I make them for me. Chris, let's use that in the ads. Wait, this is an ad. PureVitaminClub.com. Go there right now and get all your vitamins. Since we're doing an ad for my company, Chris, people don't really understand vitamins. Some doctors love to make the joke. The reason you take a vitamin is so that you can make expensive pee. Right.
And you're famous for requoting that now, right?
Yeah.
That's become somewhat associated with you.
Yeah.
And yet you run a vitamin company.
That's correct. Because you're not making expensive pee. We do not get the vitamins and nutrients we need every day. We just don't. Right. Let's start with my electrolyte or any electrolyte. Why electrolytes? What people don't realize is most people are dehydrated almost all the time. Some level of dehydration. Think about it. If you end up in the hospital, first thing they do is they stick an IV in you. They don't even have to check. They know you're dehydrated. Right?
Guess what, Vinny? They do it to your dog too. Guess what I found out last week?
Yeah. They just keep sticking your dog, as soon as it's hard to keep up with hydration. I learned that when I was doing ultra sports, right? Because you don't want to run out of, they always say you can run out of food and you can eat calories back on and get enough sugar and you can replenish right away. If you get too far gone in your water, you have to go to the hospital. You can die, right? So
that's either direction though, right? And that's something a lot of people don't realize. And I know you and I have talked about this a little bit, but there was a radio contest in LA to win a Wii. It was called Hold Your Wii for a Wii.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a lady drank as much water as they had her drink and ended up dying because she drank too much and upset the electrolyte balance. So you can go either direction with it. And the question is, how do you stop that from happening and make sure that you're at the right level of hydration?
Well, there was also someone in South America. There was a pretty famous mountain bike race, long, the kind of races I used to do, the really long distance races. And guy thought that he would overhydrate before the race started so that he can maybe miss a time station or two and not have to grab more water, just the water on his bike. So literally drank over 2 gallons of water, I think closer to 3 gallons of water. They gave the number in liters, and I did the conversion. It was close to 3 gallons. And he caused hyponatremia, and he ended up in the hospital, and he died, right? As I always say on this podcast, there's nothing you could do with impunity, even drinking water. Too much water will kill you. Now, what he did was he completely wiped out all of his electrolytes and everything that's there to keep you stabilized. So when people ask me about electrolytes, first off, we're not talking about Powerade, Gatorade, IV. What do they call it? Liquid IV. Those are all just fruit punch. I'm sorry, it's what it is. The people, even what's the one you drop it in the water? Element, LMNT. It's all crap, folks. I'm sorry. It just is. My company makes a real one. Salt Stick makes a real one. S-Caps makes a real one. And also maybe Hammer Nutrition. All the ones that come in the little capsules, those are real electrolytes. The only bad thing about, I think Hammer's probably the worst of the ones I just mentioned because they put a lot of other crap in there. Hammer's been known, I don't know if you know this, Chris. Hammer's been known because they make the stuff so cheaply that other things have been caught up in their supplements that got cyclists banned from competition. That's how bad Hammer Nutrition stuff is. But they're making, the people you could trust is probably S-Cap, the company's called Succeed, Salt Stick. I know the guy, he's been on the show, and my company. My company is the only one that's putting out 100% pure one, but the other two will suffice. Now, people say, how many can I take? It depends. It depends on how much of this stuff you get, water, right? If you're drinking too much water without electrolytes, you're going to be low in electrolytes because you're going to dilute your body's electrolytes. So you're going to be low in blood sugar. You might feel dizzy or woozy or pass out if you do too much of that. Conversely, if you take in too many electrolytes and not enough water, you're also dehydrating in that direction. So it's a balancing act. I tell people when they're exercising that for every 22 ounces of water they drink, somewhere between 16 and 22 ounces, because that's what the bottles come in, just pop one ultra salt. That's all you need to get your electrolytes up to snuff, right? Taking them when you're not exercising, also a good idea. Just make sure you're drinking a lot of water with them. Chris, would you like to explain to people what's in electrolytes?
Yeah, so I think the thing that most people don't understand, because they're used to the marketing from Gatorade, is that you don't need the sugar, right? The whole point behind something like ultra salt is that you need to be replacing what's actually in your blood. And so most of that comes in the form of salt. But you also have some other trace minerals like potassium, calcium, magnesium, and some of those kinds of things that you need to be replacing. So if
Right.
you're replacing just salt, which by the way, Vinny, so many people are afraid of salt that it's mind-boggling to me.
I just got off the phone with a guy named Bill. High blood pressure, went through a heart attack a while back. Bill, you're going to hear yourself on the show. I'm not going to give your last name out. As a matter of fact, Bill and I are doing a second consult because he wants to go through his workout routine now. We had such a great time, but Bill was saying, yeah, my doctor told me, his cardiologist, no salt, blood pressure. It was like, Bill, I could put a cuff on you right now, check your blood pressure, give you a ton of salt, table salt, drink it with water, check your blood. Nothing's going to change. As a matter of fact, it might go down.
Have you ever seen the salt without salt?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Table salt that is not salt. I got to see if I can find it. So a couple months ago, I'm staying in an Airbnb and I went to cook in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled out the salt shaker. And it said, I think it's called no salt or something
I've
like
seen that stuff before. I've never tasted it, but I've seen it.
It's mind-boggling to me. Salt is something you actually need in your body, right? And the goal of something like an ultra salt is to mimic exactly what you're losing in sweat. If you're sweating, whether you're sitting down because you sweat during the day or you're exercising, you're losing salt. You're also losing some of the micronutrients like the calcium and the manganese and the magnesium that we were talking about a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to replace all of those things. And that's what's in ultra salt. Nothing else, just the stuff that you're actually losing in your sweat without 20 to 30 grams of sugar and turning orange like Michael Jordan. Or you remember those old Gatorade commercials?
Yeah, you would sweat purple or orange or red or whatever color Gatorade you drink. Yeah. Well, that's the part people don't realize is that it's not just salt. It's the proper amount of salt mixed with manganese, potassium, magnesium, calcium. We basically we deconstructed sweat. So exactly what you're losing, you're putting back in. Now, here's the crazy part. Here's something people just don't get. They'll go, well, I don't sweat all day long. Yes, you do. Your shoes, take your shoes off at the end of the day. If you had leather shoes on, right? Feel the inside of your shoe. Stamp. That's water leaving your body. The shoe is one place where water has trouble. That's why your feet, if you wear the same shoes there, your feet will start stinking because bacteria builds up in there. It's just a fact, right? The rest of your body, you have clothes that kind of air, it wicks things away. Our skin is your body's biggest organ. And we're constantly off-gassing and getting rid of water through our skin, right? Either in sweat or in sweat so light that you can't see it. Also, every time you exhale, guess what comes out, Chris?
Water vapor.
Water vapor. Every single time. As a matter of fact, you're exhaling fat. People don't realize that when when you turn fat turns into a butyrate to be used as energy, and the off-gassing is water, and it off-gasses through your mouth. So when people go, where does the fat go when I lose the fat? It goes out the same way it went in, your mouth. Comes right on out. Matter of fact, if you're like me and you've been camping and you're in a pretty small tent and it's less than 30 degrees out and you're sleeping in that tent all night, you know, you're in a we call them zero bags, right? Or -5 bags or -10 bags. You wake up the next morning and the whole top of your tent is lined in ice, crystal ice. That's all of your exhaust, all of the fat you exhausted while you were sleeping. Right there, you're looking at it in the tent. It's the way it works, right?
Now, Vinny, you just took that nice moment that everybody has on that first really nice fall day when you can see your breath, and you just ruined it for everybody. Because now all they're going to be thinking is, "I'm breathing out fat," or maybe you made it better for everybody. I haven't
think I made
decided
it
yet.
better. Everyone wants to get rid of fat. Every time it comes out, they'll go, "Oh, look at that, more fat leaving my body." Boom. Every time you exhale, water. That's why you have to constantly drink. That's why you have to constantly have electrolytes, whether it's winter or summer. And especially where you live, Chris, at altitudes. You're losing water faster than anyone else. Your air's thinner. Just is. Right?
I think the other thing a lot of people don't realize in terms of staying hydrated, Vinny, is the potassium. You mentioned that a minute ago. And if you're somebody who has consistent muscle cramps, you should be supplementing salt, potassium, and magnesium. And I know the standard advice is to eat a banana because it's really high in magnesium, or
Right.
whatever, whatever the rationale is for eating a banana. I'm still not sure. But there's a reason that is an ultra salt. And for somebody like me, and again, we were talking about this on the VIP call the other night. We had a lady that was talking about she gets insane muscle cramps to the point where she has to manually uncurl her toes. I'm the
Right.
same way. And if I don't supplement with magnesium, supplement with something like an ultra salt, I can go one day
Right.
and I will immediately know that I forgot to take it. Not everybody has that extreme, but you will notice that when you're working out or when you're doing something that's physical exertion, right?
Right. All right. So did we exhaust the idea of what goes on with electrolytes and why you should take an electrolyte?
Yeah, and I think especially in the summer, it's important for people. But if you're somebody who is doing things all year round, or you have the problem that I do with muscle cramping, it's something you should be keeping track of. I think the other thing, Vinny, in addition to taking something like ultra salt and SCAP, whatever, is to not be afraid to cook with salt.
Right.
And if you know anything about restaurant food, the reason why restaurant food tastes good is two things: lots of butter and lots of salt.
Yeah.
Right? An astounding amount of salt.
Yeah.
And that's why it tastes good. You don't have to use that level, but a lot of people will put a little sprinkle on and go, that's good. So if you are somebody who cooks at home, don't be afraid to supplement it a little bit with that, as long as you're using something like Redmond's, which is a real salt that has a lot of the trace minerals in it, which is why we use that as the base for ultra salt.
Yeah. Redmond's is one of the best salts in the world. Baja is right up there with Redmond's. It's a damp feeling salt that comes from the Baja, and it still feels damp. I don't know how they keep that in there. And also Malden's. Those are the three salts we use around here. Mostly Redmond's though.
What's the difference between something like a Redmond's and your like Celtic sea salt, right? Because we hear a lot about all these different salts, a Himalayan salt. And is there a difference?
Yeah, there's more trace minerals in some more than others. Like Himalayan pink or black generally has more. When we did the big study to put it in ultra salt, I wanted to get as many trace minerals as possible. And Redmond's was about as high as you can get. I think Baja, if I'm being perfectly honest, is a little higher than Redmond's. I don't know where Celtic salt falls in there, so I'm I know it's expensive, but I don't know where the Malden salt comes from, and I don't know what the mineral content is in Malden salt. But I think the three top that I found back when we were doing that was Redmond's, which is really high with trace minerals, like maybe 70 trace minerals, and I think Baja might have like 80. And I want to say maybe 50 or 60 for the stuff that comes out of Afghanistan, the black and the pink Himalayan. They call it Himalaya. It comes out of Afghanistan. When you own a supplement company, you learn this kind of stuff. If you're looking, Chris, I saw you typing. Am I close on any of what I just said?
Yeah, so I have to run it for the brand specifically, but essentially what I found at the first glance is Dead sea salt has extremely high trace minerals, but it's not edible.
Okay.
The red Alea salt from Hawaii is okay. Himalayan pink, Celtic sea salt, and then something, and Redmond's, I guess, technically is a sea salt.
It
Right?
is. It's from a Dead Sea. Yeah.
So if you're looking for something and you can't get your hand on Redmond's, a Celtic sea salt from France appears to be a good way to find something that's
right
balanced from an electrolyte and a trace mineral standpoint.
Yeah. So all of those salts are great. I can tell you it's not great, like Morton's salt. They put up other crap in it. These are not pure salts. So, and look, salt is salt. It's not that expensive, man. Just get the good stuff. Get Redmond's or get some good Himalayan pink salt. Trader Joe's sells all this stuff for almost nothing, right? I think Baja salt is pretty expensive. Malden is very expensive. But I keep a little, it looks like, it's a little tiny silver thing that I keep right next to me. And I just sprinkle salt, extra salt on everything. It's just, there's an old saying, is he worth his salt? Salt used to be that kind of commodity. That's where that term comes from, being worth your salt.
Well, the origin of that, right?
Go on.
The word salary comes from ancient Rome, where soldiers were paid with salt.
Right.
And that's why you still, like in Spanish, you have sal, and in Italian, I'm assuming it's something similar still, right? It all comes from that being the root of salary. You got paid literally in salt. So are you worth your salt? Are you worth what you're getting paid?
Right. That's how important salt was at one time in this world. Guess what they never paid anyone in? Sugar. Boom. Although my neighbor gave me a candy bar once never mind. I shouldn't go there. Let's move on to another product. I'll let you pick one.
Yeah. So before we dive into kind of everything, one of the things, and it was the first product that you launched with Pure Vitamin Club, was the daily multi-cap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually where you hear a doctor or someone say, oh, that's a great way to have expensive pee, right? Take a multivitamin. It's great. You're going to, have really expensive pee. What is the reason, and who should take a multivitamin?
Everyone. It's a daily insurance cap. That's basically what you're taking, a daily insurance cap. Because, people will say, Vinnie, you of all people, right? You of all people, you're telling people to eat proper food and you're going to get all your vitamins and nutrients and what have you. You're never going to get enough vitamin A unless you're sitting there eating liver on top of liver. Sorry. You're just not. I can't, liver is one of those foods I can't stand. Maybe it's because it was shoved on. And look, folks, don't tell me I have a way of smothering it. I don't want to hear it. I've tried liver every way humanly possible to eat liver. The only way I was ever able to get it down was desiccated liver powder that I would put in a protein shake back when I used to do that when I was a kid. I cannot eat liver. It's your vitamin A right there. You need it. It's your iron, your heme. It's all right there in the liver. You could get all of that from a vitamin. Now, we don't put iron in ours because I want people, if they need iron, they might need to talk to a doctor. The amount of iron I would put in a supplement wouldn't be enough anyway, right? If you need to supplement with iron, that's a whole different problem. Some people need that. Other people who have hemochromatosis have too much iron. So that's another reason not to put it in your vitamin. Everything else there is, it's an insurance. It's insurance, right? You're giving the methylated Bs, right? You're getting all the Bs. You're getting all the 13 essentials and some trace minerals, right? That's why. Go on, Chris.
So that raises another question, and we don't have to talk about it now, but if you're taking something like the Pure Vitamin Club Daily Multicap, should you still be looking at a B vitamin supplement? Because that's something else that we offer.
Well, we don't offer all the Bs. We offer B12. And here's why, and people go, that's odd. You have B12 in your daily multi and you have B12 as a sublingual. Here's why, right? I learned that my vitamin B12 was not non-existent, but always on the low side. Even though I put enough in my supplements, even though I get enough from the foods I eat, I was always concerned that my B12 of all the B vitamins is just on the low side. So I went down the rabbit hole, talked to a bunch of doctors and got some answers. And it turns out the reason they have B12 shots for people is because some people, B12 is absorbed through our small intestine. So you would think with all the eggs I eat, all the red meat, you would think I would get enough B12. But some people at a certain age, your body quits absorbing the B12. We don't know why. Why does our, prostate get bigger? Why do women get fibrous lumps in their breasts? Why? We get older and things happen, right? We start to rust. We're not as good as we used to be.
But are you as good as you
once
are you as good once was?
Yeah. I'm as good once as I ever was.
Yeah.
So that's when I went down the road. I went, so B12 shot, is that the only way to do that? And the doctor told me, he goes, no, you could do it by, they have gels you can stick in your nose. Anywhere you have an open membrane, you can just pump B12 and it'll go right into your bloodstream. Except
why aren't we doing the gel in the nose version of that?
Because it's kind of icky, Chris. I want to make a gel. People are sticking it. How much gel do I put on my finger? Do I squirt it? I didn't want to mess around with a gel in the nose. And then I looked at every product on the market. And there were a lot of good sublingual Bs. I tried other products. And of course, my B12 went right up. But I had two problems with their products. Now, this is sounding like an infomercial, and I don't mean it to. Most of theirs was cyanocobalamin.
Just like the shot. The shot is almost always cyanocobalamin.
Yeah.
Why is that a problem, Vinnie?
B12 has to be hooked to a molecule to stabilize. And one of the molecules they'll hook it to is cyanide. Cyanide is something in a large enough quantity will kill you. But they look at it as, it's a small amount of cyanide, so your body will handle it and you'll be okay. Can you imagine taking cyanide every day?
Yeah, just like a battery once a day. It won't kill you.
Yeah.
There is a better way to do that. And it turns out that it's actually more absorbable by the body, right? You mentioned methylated vitamins.
Yeah, it's we use methylcobalamin in our product. But wait, there's more. I did end up finding a product or two that was methylcobalamin. But they still tasted like wild cherry or berry or mint or something. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Hang on. Why is this tasting so good? Well, it's because they hook it to a little sugar cube. So I went through the process of figuring out a different way to deliver, my B12, my methylcobalamin. And we did it with a small amount of calcium. The problem is nobody could make it because it's hard to press calcium onto methylcobalamin and make it work. So we literally had to come up with equipment ourselves and then lend it to the companies that make those little dots you put in your mouth. We had to have that made. Then we send that to the company who makes our vitamins. That's how that works.
I think you mentioned they hook it to a sugar cube. The other thing that I found, and I can't figure out a reason for it, is a lot of companies that do the sublingual, whether you're getting it from us or not, this is the stuff that you guys should be looking for, right?
Right.
A lot of people who do the sublingual, instead of sugar, they use lactose, which technically is sugar, but it's not straight up table sugar.
Right.
Why?
I think they'll find any cheap way. Look, I say this all the time. We make the world's most expensive vitamins and charge the cheapest price. Anyone else, any company that would do what we're doing with this methylcobalamin would be charging at least, what do we charge for a bottle of that for 90 days? As a matter of fact, it's a 90-day supply, but we put 95 in the bottle. Most people don't know that. You get 5 extra in the 90-day supply because in case any of them break down, I wanted people to have enough to make it. So that's one of those things we never talk about, but I do that at Pure Vitamin Club.
Yeah, so if one time is 22, the recurring is 18. So if you have it on a subscription, it's $18.
It's $18. Anybody else that would be doing this, I guarantee you it would be a $40 for 90 days would be $40 easily, right? But I cut it to the quick so that we could get the best vitamins in the world to people. Again, I'm turning this into an ad. I just wanted to talk about vitamins, but I get very proud of this company because I worked so hard to make it work. If that makes sense. Chris, let's do one more product. Did we do multivitamins justice there?
No, let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into that. And I mentioned when I brought that up that a lot of people make the joke, including doctors, and that's usually where you hear that, that it creates expensive pee. Is that because they're throwing a ton of stuff in there? Like, where does that joke come from? And how do we avoid that?
Okay. When you take a multivitamin, if you take theirs, let's say you take a high-end version of theirs, anybody else's. Well, first off, if you take something like Centrum, that's not good. You're not going to get anything. And if you look in your poop hard enough, you might find the Centrum pill in there because it's one of those ones that they mix together with a binding agent and they squeeze it so tight that your stomach can't break it down. So you get something like a cheap Centrum from the grocery store, you're getting zero from it. You might find high-end companies that do the really good capsules the way we do it, but you'll look in the toilet after you pee, and it could be almost like a fluorescent orange or green, almost just very fluorescent. The reason for that is they put excipients and flow agents. And what this does, if you put a magnesium stearate, it literally blocks the absorption of not only the vitamin you took, but the absorption of other nutrients that you ate that day. So the one thing you're taking to help you is causing your body not to absorb some of the micronutrients that you need, including the ones in the vitamin. So it all gets shoved off into your kidneys and it comes out as urine. And you'll see the most expensive pee in the world. Now, you'll notice with ours, yeah, your pee will be more orange or more of a color because whatever your body doesn't use that day, it gets rid of, right? So some of those B vitamins are going to come out. But I guarantee you, your body's going to be grabbing some of the Bs, is going to be grabbing the C, is going to be grabbing the A and the D and the K and everything else. Guaranteed. But your body is not going to hang on to stuff it doesn't need and is going to get rid of the rest. The only thing it hangs on to is fat, right? We store fat for a rainy day.
Well, and you mentioned Centrum, and I think one of the things that flows through flow agents flows through all of the Pure Vitamin Club products is there's no fillers, no binders, no flow agents, right? We don't want you eating sand, paint, wood pulp, any of those kinds of things. And you mentioned how sometimes you'll still see the Centrum pill or whatever, any of the pressed multi-caps.
Right.
You'll still have some form to it. You're not able to break it down for that reason. It makes it easier to press, but it also stops you from being able to get to the nutrients. We were talking about methylated B when we veered off into B12 a minute ago. I think that's the other thing that you should be looking for. There's a lot of vitamins that you'll find in most multivitamins that are not in the right form, right? So something like a Centrum, yes, it has B12. That's going to be the cyanocobalamin.
Right.
It'll have folate, but it's folic acid, not methylfolate, right? It's not the methylated form. Your iron, we don't put iron in it because most adults don't need it if you're getting it from eating red meat and doing all of those things.
Correct.
So not only are you not getting what you think you're getting out of most multivitamins, but you're getting a lot of stuff that you may not need as well. And so I think the goal with the multi-cap was to give you that daily insurance policy, give you just what you need and none of the stuff that you don't. Am I missing anything there?
No, that's exactly right. And again, it's become an infomercial here. And I know this is going to be a two-parter because we can't talk about all of it in this amount of time. So we're going to end up doing at least another show on it. We might do something next week and then come back to it later. Let's do, what do we have left? We have D3.
Let's chat magnesium for a minute, because we've brought that up a few different times.
Okay.
You mentioned there's B12 in the multi-cap, there's magnesium in the multi-cap. What is the point of something like our magnesium? Who is it for? Why did we build it the way that we built it?
Okay, magnesium was the second thing I came up with because I looked around and, just doing consensus on people who live in the United States. And what we found is that most people are deficient in magnesium. If you get your magnesium checked every time you go get a physical, they'll tell you, oh yeah, you need to take magnesium. The good news is that there are good magnesiums out there that you can take that will bring your magnesium levels up pretty quickly, and you'll start feeling better. You'll sleep better. You'll feel better. It's kind of like when you take the electrolytes, you actually feel them, right? So most people sell magnesium in one or two different forms. Sometimes they mix the two, magnesium carbonate or citrate. As a matter of fact, when we were having trouble at our company, people were asking me, hey, Vin, if I'm not taking yours, which one should I take? And I just stuck with one product. I could have sent them 5 different places, but I knew this place made a pretty clean product. There was a product called Calm, CALM, which is just a powder magnesium. You put a scoop or two in water. It fizzes. There's an effervescence to it, just a little bit. They make a flavored one. I would tell everyone, get the plain. When I couldn't get my magnesium, that's what I used. Now, Calm is great, but I think is it carbonate or citrate, Chris? It's one of those two. It's just one of the two. I can't remember which one. It's great, but here's the problem with straight carbonate or straight citrate. If you get a little too much of it, it's like taking milk of magnesia. You're going to get the poopies. You're going to have to go to the bathroom. It's going to give you the squirts, right? So that's the problem with taking too much of a good thing. So I recognized this problem, and I knew I wanted to take a lot of magnesium every day because I sweat a lot. You lose magnesium when you sweat, even though you're taking all the electrolytes. I want to be topped off. So I decided to come up with a magnesium where we call it broad spectrum. Let's see, I might have one right behind me. Let's see if I can grab one. I'll show everyone what it looks like.
While you're doing that, Vinny, Natural Calm uses citrate. So it's fairly well absorbed in terms of the different kinds of magnesium, but it does have that laxative effect. So if you're only taking citrate, you're getting a good dose of magnesium. But if you take a little too much of it, it'll make you run somewhere. That's not where you want to be when you're trying to calm down.
Yeah. We have magnesium carbonate, magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate, and magnesium citrate. So we came up with a formula. And again, this isn't me coming up with these formulas. We worked with a bunch of scientists. And we said, okay, how do we get people to take maximum amounts of magnesium without getting the shits. And this is the formula they came up with. Now, on the package, it says serving size 2 capsules. I take 4 of these every night and a minimum of 3 every morning. I take 7 of these a day. Never once have I had any kind of gut issue. Taking 7 a day. Every time I get my magnesium checked, and I get my blood checked all the time because I'm a cancer survivor. I hate using that term, but I am. The bottom line is, check my magnesium. It's always right there. No problem. And I'm a guy, hell, I was on my rowing machine for 45 minutes a day, and then I got on the spinner for 45 minutes, sweat pretty good. I go to the gym every day, pump iron. I walk around, my neighbors see me. I walk around every day, throw a rucksack on in the heat, in the cold, whatever. Between the electrolytes and the magnesium, at 63 years old, I'm going to be 63 in a couple of months. No problem. No problem whatsoever. And the community who pays attention to this podcast is an older community. I know that. I know that because of the phone calls. When I talk to Bill, when I talk to Virginia, when I talk to Tahan, his name is Tahan. I'll be talking to him tomorrow. I talk to him all the time. When I talk to Peter, when I talk to David and Anna, and all these different people, I'm looking at all the names on my list, Allison and Liz and Charles and Lee. Oh, and there's another Anna and Scott. These are all, I'm looking at my playlist from the past day or two. All of these people are between 48 years old and 70 years old. Apparently, this is my group, or at least this is the group that can pay for a phone call. These are the people that want their last years, their senior years. They don't want to be sitting around. And I hear the same story from every single one of them. I don't want to become my mom. I don't want to become my dad. I don't want to have heart disease. I don't want my parents just sat around and drank towards the end of their life. They didn't do anything. My parents were ill and then in and out of the hospital by the time they were 72, 73. No one wants that. That's who watches. That's who pays attention here. As you know, I can't get one person on TikTok to follow me. Not my audience, right? Not my audience. People who are morbidly obese, people who are getting up there in age, they want to keep doing it. That's who's paying attention. You need this stuff right here. Pure Vitamin Club Magnesium. Or don't buy mine. Go buy Calm.
But if you're not buying it from us, you still want to find something that is a blend of magnesium or a broad spectrum magnesium, which is how we refer to it, right?
Yeah.
And the reason, Vinny, that you can take 7 of those capsules a day is it's not all citrate. And I think magnesium is one of those things that's a little weird in the supplement world. Like we talked about B12. Right. There's really 2 forms of it, right? There's cyanocobalamin and methylcobalamin. And other than that, there's not a lot of guesswork. With magnesium, every magnesium supplement you see will have a different form of magnesium in it. And they all have pros and cons. They all have different levels of bioavailability. They all go to different areas of the body and are used in different areas of the body. So if you are low on magnesium, like 48% of people who are clinically low in magnesium in the US, you want to find something that's a broad spectrum. And there's a reason that we use all 4 of those forms. And it's not just to stop you from running to the bathroom, right? You mentioned that citrate has that problem. There's another form in there, the taurate, that helps you calm your stomach, right? So even if you had more citrate, by adding in the taurate, that helps balance out that sensation inside of your body. And it also happens to turn out, Vinny, that the taurate form is really useful and used heavily by the heart more than other organs, which is kind of weird. Then you have glycinate, and you'll hear all the time people talking about, oh, take magnesium, it'll help you sleep.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Even citrate will help you with that. And that's actually where Natural Calm comes from, right? They are a sleep supplement originally. but they're not using the best form for that. The
Well, yeah, well,
glycinate.
that's why they have the name.
Yeah.
Calm. It was to calm you down to go to sleep. Yeah.
But the glycinate is actually the form of magnesium that helps you with that the most. It causes more relaxation. And then you have carbonate, which is more of a slow release form, right? And so you're getting kind of an IV drip of it all day through your system by mixing those four things together. It's going everywhere it needs to go. And you don't have any issues of running to the bathroom or using something that you're not actually going to absorb at all, which you'll find a lot in the single magnesiums. And even in a lot of the blends, you'll see something that is maybe citrate and carbonate, and it's 80-20 citrate or something like that. You're missing out on a lot of the bioavailability and some of the other effects like the sleep and relaxation. I think that's one of the reasons that, especially the magnesium, if we have any supply chain issues with that, we get more phone calls, letters, smoke signals, tweets, Facebook tags than anything else. Because once you start taking it, not only do you notice the difference, but as soon as you stop taking the supplement, you notice the difference going the other way. If you're somebody like me, I can go a single day without taking a broad spectrum magnesium, and I will wake up with the biggest Charlie horse that you've ever seen.
Chris, let's make that the final word. I will tell people this. We talked about it on VIP last night. If you do get cramps, one of the best things you can do is drink pickle juice and eat pickles. And people go, should I do that before the cramp? Or no, do it after the cramp. If you do it every day prophylactically, if you are prone to cramps, you will be less prone to cramps. So that's a little life hack right there. No, we don't have Pure Vitamin Club pickle juice. They do sell pickle juice by itself nowadays for that reason alone. Chris?
I was going to say yet. We don't have it yet.
Yeah, yet. Pure pickle juice. All right. You know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner. Puts a little coal on the fire. Gets my train down the track. I did have one song set for after the show here, but Chris made me think of something else. So we're going to go with the something else. So on behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living, and let's do it with one Mr. Toby Keith.